What can you say to new players who might think that Lost Ark is pay to win?
How much money did you spend the first time that you spent money on the game?
I want to say, like, it started off with 1,000. The worst part is getting the weapon from 19 to 20 itself was also $2,000. I want to guess around between 12 to 15K around there.
$12,000 to $15,000.
Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Taco here, and I just wanted to actually talk about something a little bit more off note, not something directly related to like info in a game, but I've been playing games since like 2005. I started playing RuneScape when I was a kid, and this was long before failing honing upgrades and spending thousands of dollars for item level in a video game. And there may have been like real world trading aspects to the game, but they were never legally endorsed. And I really just kind of wanted to touch on that kind of stuff because I feel like gaming in general has really reached a level that's just not healthy, and we've really kind of like we've shot ourselves in the foot because a lot of us really do want like that game, like that next big game with that big world, with one difficulty, with shared understanding of experiences, the same way I felt playing RuneScape in 2005. And this could be expressed that we were probably all worse at games back then, and games have evolved in their difficulty and what makes them difficult, but this stood true. I mean, like, you didn't have to spend $15,000 to achieve an arbitrary item level to get into content that was crafted to be gated in a way that only people paying money would reach in a certain period of time, so that there's always a chase for these people with this money, or that will get this money to spend on this game. And I think that that's a really big thing. I mean, they're like having no legal real world trading or pay to win, having that value and accomplishment, those warm, fuzzy feelings that, you earn. But, like starting off with pay to win in Lineage 2, they experimented with paying for those feelings of validation. And that game has honestly heavily influenced the Korean market, especially Lost Ark. And, even in Lineage 2, like a guy spent $3.5 million on their premium currency that's really only usable to expedite game item level upgrades through upgrade stones or honing, just like in Lost Ark. And then with that 3.5 million, here's a great example of how short that money can go. They make a change that devalues the currency by making the things that he purchased easier to get in the game with just a patch, right? Like the honing patch that didn't come to Lost Ark originally. And now he's pissed because his money being devalued, he believes that he should get some kind of compensation. Well, this isn't like a real market. There isn't like real legislation here yet, and they don't have to do that. So he goes to NC Soft Studios, which is the people who make Lineage 2, and he, throws a tantrum for like 2 days, blocks them in with his car, gets arrested. So this game so far has affected his mental health enough that he's ruined his life. He clearly had a lot of money. He spent $3.5 million equivalent of Korean won on a game that, like, was supposed to be a game. It was supposed to be a release. It was supposed to be an escape, a hobby, something to do, not something to blow millions and then get arrested for. I'm sure he didn't go into that game hoping to do any of those things, and he ends up getting sued by NCSoft. And the only thing he really gets out of any of this is he gets like a minor compensation for the value differential between the pre and post currency value of the patch change. And like what is that? Like, he gets addicted to a casino gotcha game, ruins his mental state, ruins his life just for Lineage 2. And in the case of Lineage 2, he's not even rare because 0.5% of players account for 50% of the spending. And there's been many cases of this. Some of them were minimum wage workers who blew everything they had and got money they didn't have to spend on something that wasn't real. There were kids doing this, and it's all in this like predatory gambling simulator crafting system bullshit that we used to say something about. We used to do something about this a decade ago. It was a really big deal when games like Elder Scrolls Online released with the 15% experience boost, and people were in outrage. They were like, wow, you can pay a sub fee to get ahead in the game by 15% with an Elder Scrolls Online subscription. How does that make any sense? That's not fair. 15%. In Lost Ark, you can literally buy all the way up to 1430 for the low price of $15,000, and people do it. How did we get from $15 to $15,000? How did we decide that these things were acceptable? When did we stop like boycotting these types of games. And for a game like Lost Ark with like, you know, very mediocre animation, very mediocre art, like it's really like I don't even understand what it is. Are we coping? Did we decide that games in themselves have fallen so far that we're gonna put up with the next Genshin Impact gotcha garbage that comes our way? Is it because New World, you know, promised all of these things and people feel like it didn't really, you know, like meet the expectation and the standard that we thought it was going to meet? That doesn't mean we go, you know, like double down and fall back on everything that we thought we were going to, you know, fight against for really more like 20 years. Even RuneScape had a stage in 2001 where, you know, like they were even looking at the prospect of pay to win and they put that down because people don't want that shit. People didn't want that shit. It's a game. It was always supposed to be a game. It was always supposed to be a game. It was never supposed to be a casino simulator. You know, like when you go to a gas station and you see those little grouchy old people sitting on the slot machines, you don't think like, damn, dude, look at that Chad 65-year-old lady with her nickels that she won. You know, like how is that any different from like the overweight $15,000 in Lost Ark player with 1430 item level sitting on a beach getting interviewed, really insecure even about the fact that he spent this kind of money, talking about how he doesn't even want to look at his bank account. It's no different. That's what gamblers say too. That's what people who have gambling addictions say. They don't want to see their bank accounts. They don't want to talk about their mental health. What does Lost Ark have? A $1,000 a day daily limit, $365,000 a year. Yeah, do you make that much? Would if you did, would you spend it on Lost Ark? People on minimum wage get involved in this stuff. There isn't even they don't have legislation for this yet. That's really what I'm here to talk about today is we we can't stop this if we participate in these games. You know? Like if we continue to play these types of games, we're going to continue to get these types of games. And you know, a lot of people feel like it's not going to stop until the legislation comes, but the legislation may not come for a very long time. I mean, there's countries in Europe that have provided this type of legislation specifically against like casino boxes, crown crate type boxes, stuff like that in different games. But you know, it might take a while. It might take years. It might never come. And honestly, like the fact that we support this as a community is insane to me because 10 years ago it was like ridiculous when you heard stuff about like tokens being added to RuneScape, the WoW token, you know, like being able to get a 15% experience boost in a game. But now, well, now you can buy the whole thing and it's not even illegal. You don't have to do it through player auctions. You can do it right there and trade crystals for gold and get all the way up. Lost Ark arrived with literally the same exact systems of Lineage 2, where people were spending almost $4 million only incorporating that one stop. And we know exactly how this goes. It's been out for several years in Korea and Russia. The only difference is they intentionally gave us an unrefined, even more pay-to-win system for honing that is currently out in these servers in Korea and Russia. And if you think that wasn't on purpose, you're kidding yourself, man. You're kidding yourself. How did we allow hype to take us this far? How did we allow following streamers on their coattails take us this far into the territory of a game that not only is honestly mediocre outside of maybe a really interesting non-gear based 3v3 arena system that also, by the way, isn't perfect and doesn't let you play with your friends? How did we let us get to this point? How did we decide that it was okay to spend thousands of dollars on a game? You know, I remember when I was young and I read about kids spending a couple $100 on their parents' credit card on Clash of Clans. That was crazy. Like that was so bad, you know? Like that was the worst. I was like, man, I can't believe someone would spend hundreds of dollars on a game, let alone not their own money, you know? Nowadays it $15,000 isn't even the worst. BDO. I know a dude that's spent $180,000 on Black Desert Online for marginal pay to win increases. Lineage 2, $3.5 million. It's crazy. Like it's something that if you just can't I can't wrap my head around that kind of money being spent on something that a lot of people aren't they don't see that as like is there even their like forever game or something, you know, if there was such a concept, like they don't see it as something they're going to play forever. It's just like it's like a temporary thing, you know? Like how often do you spend $3.5 million on something in your life, and it's not something that you really feel like you're gonna, like be touching the rest of your life, like like dude, 3.5 million, like you're talking like Rolls Royce, you're talking like giant homes, you're talking about businesses, you're talking about people's lives, people's life savings, many times over in a game. It's not okay. And if you don't support, legislation in the future that stops this kind of stuff, stops these predatory gambling simulators, stops these Korean gotcha games, I mean, you're contributing to the destruction of the state of gaming. And that's pretty much it.